Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. So today I wanted to share with you some decks that have come into my collection in the first half of the year. I haven't shared like decks that are new to me for a while, so some of them may slip through the net and I may forget to mention them, but these are the notable ones anyway that I know I haven't talked about before. So I'll just get right on into it. I'm going to start with this beautiful deck, and this was really kindly sent to me by US Games, and it's the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot, and I had this on my wish list for a while and I just couldn't resist. I just thought it was incredibly beautiful and it has been a really good reader for me so far. I just find the imagery so beautiful. It's just like stunning. There's a lot of realism in it, as well as it being quite cartoony at the same time. I don't really know what I did study art, but I can't really recall like what kind of art style you would call this, but it does sort of give me Rider-Waite-Smith vibes, and it also gives me Pagan Otherworld vibes as well a little bit. So these are the backs, they're very beautiful, and I'll just show you some of the cards. As you know, if you've watched my channel before, I do have reversals shuffled in, so you'll be able to see some of those potentially. But yeah, you can just see the quality of the line work. I just love them. I just think they're really beautiful, very dramatic, and yeah, very clear as well. I think anyone who is used to the Rider-Waite-Smith is able to use these. And I know as well this was talked about quite a lot when it first came out as an indie deck, and then it was picked up by US Games. Oh, I just love that. It's so stunning. So there's a focus with this deck on the gender roles and there being heteronormative roles within typical tarot decks, especially the Rider-Waite-Smith, and so that kind of flips that on its head a little bit. So it says on the back, captivating artist Fyodor Pavlov pays tribute to the seminal Smith-Waite tarot deck imagery by creating a hand-painted tarot deck in watercolour and ink that is informed by his personal queer and trans experiences. The result is a tarot deck that is familiar and timeless while exploring new and diverse representations of gender, sexuality and culture. Pavlov artfully introduces queer and non-binary identities while staying true to the canonical tarot meanings. And of course you have these beautiful gilded edges as well, which I am a sucker for gilding. Oh my gosh, it's so stunning. I love this. So I've been using this a few times in the last season, and I think it's just going to come into its own really in autumn. I don't know why. I feel like something about the colour palette that just speaks to me of autumn, and isn't this just glorious? This is a stunning, stunning deck, and I'm thrilled to have this and be working with this. I absolutely love it. So that is the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. Next up, I also picked up the Botanical Inspirations from US Games, and this is a stunning deck that again I've had on my wish list for a long time. It has this little cheat sheet here, and there is a booklet as well that comes with it, which is really, really helpful and supportive. So the stuff about the illustrator there, Pierre-Joseph Grédu, from 1759 to 1840. So obviously it's his art that has been utilised within this deck, and then you've got a beautiful guidebook. It's not in colour, but it's very clear, and beautiful interpretations in this. I've been really enjoying pulling these. You can't really reverse because of the backs there, but I don't really think you need to, because that's not really the point. So I've been pulling these sort of daily, and you know, I've been pulling them in my bedroom, so that's why they are up here, I guess, but otherwise I would have enjoyed them downstairs in the apothecary. They're just absolutely stunning, and they really, really support with studying herbcraft as well, like if that's something that you're doing. It's just really beautiful to work with alongside like shadow work that you're doing, and healing that you're doing, any kind of readings really this can be beautiful with. And of course they just pair so beautifully with so many decks as well. So it's a stunning, stunning deck, and I've just been using it daily really, or weekly, either daily or weekly depending on what reading I'm, you know, using these to support with. So I really love these as well. So this is one of my most recent acquisitions. This is the Lilith Tarot, and I'm so thrilled with it. This I backed on Kickstarter. This is the second edition by Marion Constantine, and it is Little Darkness, honouring the esoteric roots of tarot with hand-painted watercolours. Lilith comes with an illustrated booklet, etc, etc. So there's also like this sheet in there, there's these stickers. I have used this deck a lot to connect to Lilith since it's arrived. I've used other decks, as I said, as well. Like there's supposed to be Lucifer and Lilith in this. I've not read the little guidebook yet, But yeah, it is quite intuitive really from what I've gathered from it so far. There's a lot of symbolism within it, and it's just glorious, it's just beautiful. I love it so much. It's actually one of my favourites in my collection. I was very attracted to the deck. Even before really I thought I should get it to connect to Lilith. I thought that I really, really liked it. It was just then I was like, you know, actually I'm missing a trick here, because this is perfect for connecting with Lilith. I did a little walkthrough on my Instagram, a little reel. It's just beautiful, beautiful. I cannot, yeah, stunning. So again, linked below, of course, and that's the Lilith Tarot. So I'm unsure as to whether I've shared this already, because I may have shared it in my video at the beginning of the year about the decks I worked with last year, because I'm not sure at what point I picked this up. It's a Comedian of Witches, and I've had this on my list literally since this was a indie deck and it was picked up by Lo Scarabeo. So this is the guidebook. It's Natasha Ilinsik, and I believe that they are the illustrator for that beautiful Witch's Garden deck as well that has come out recently. I've just really wanted to pick that one up too. There's just so many. So this is divided up, and you have these cards that are sort of tools or animals, different natural kind of representations, and then you have these archetype cards as well, which are really beautiful. The illustrations are just stunning. So I think that this is a little bit more prescriptive with the way you might wish to work with it. I mean, of course you could just pull a card, but the way I've worked with it, I've shuffled these archetypal cards first and then shuffled the additional cards as well, and like to write 2 messages from it. Again, they work really, really beautifully with other tarot decks that are very sort of nature inspired and have similar colorways. So a lot of these decks that I'm just loving at the moment have this kind of vibe to them. Oh, stunning, 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 stunning. So again, I feel like in the summer I've been working less with tarot and oracles. So like coming into autumn, I want to be working much more with these decks that have come in, but I've adored this since I picked this up, and whether or not I mentioned it, I'm not sure, but I've kept these separate for this reason, because so far I don't think I've ever shuffled them together. I think I've only shuffled them separately, but it's not that I'd be against that. That's just the way I've worked with it so far. Of course, in the guidebook as well, it goes into more details about how you can use it, and it's about the journey. So they're whispers cards, that's it. So voices is the witches, the archetypes, and then 30 whispers, so additional symbols. So you can use it that way. I love, love, love. It's been a stunning deck and I really like working with it. A deck I had on my list for a very long time is the Courier, the Magician's deck by Josephine McCarthy. I have the book as well that goes with, and I also have Courier, the first volume, or The Apprentice, I think it's called. So yeah, I haven't actually started working through that, but I absolutely love listening to Josephine McCarthy. I've listened to like every podcast she's ever been on Glitch Bottle and Foolish Fish, and I just love her work. I read the book that goes along with this deck, and I would highly, highly recommend that anyone who gets this Courier Magician's deck also gets the book that goes along with. So you can buy this on Game Crafter, so I'll link all the decks below, of course, obviously. I think Josephine has a new deck as well that came out this year. I can't remember what that's called, but again, just similar beautiful paintings. I would highly recommend though that you read the book. The book is like really fundamental in understanding how to work with this deck, how to kind of tap into the wisdom, because again, the cards are separated out, so you have these different like spheres, energy levels, and you know, it's actually been a few months since I've read it, so like any reading that I would do with this deck, I would definitely go back to the book. It's one of those decks, it's got its own system. Obviously the art is spectacular, and it's just highly intelligent, highly sophisticated form of understanding magic, I guess. And I don't know why I'm doing it like this, just letting you see like all of the, look at that, like, oh my gosh, absolutely stunning. It's so powerful. I think if you just listen to some of Josephine McCarthy's podcasts, you can hear in her experience, in her voice, and she really talks about practice being absolutely integral to understanding how magic works, and you know, actually that you have to spend the time doing the work. You can't just like be an armchair magician and read all of these grimoires and tomes and understand it all. So you really have to invest your time and energy carefully into it. Similar names to the tarot, but it obviously is not a tarot deck. It's very different. This for me is kind of like a deck that I consider to be a teacher that will teach me now for the rest of my life, and I don't ever want to sort of think of myself as like, oh, okay, well I've got that down now. Like, that is absolutely not. When I come to this deck, it's for a big reason. Like, there is a big teaching element to this deck for me, and I really feel that there's a lot of wisdom and gnosis that has been channeled through this deck. It's got such potency to it. When I first opened it, I had like goosebumps. I think I cried when I first went through the deck. I was just absolutely in awe, like not only the beauty of it, but the actual power. And you can also, obviously, some of these more archetypal cards you can obviously work with, place on your altar, work with embodying, working with those particular archetypes within the deck. But yeah, as you can see, it's a huge deck. There's a lot to know, and as I said as well, like, the book is absolutely fundamental. So that's in the other room right now, but the book is available on Amazon, so I'll link that as well. It's really key. There's not really much point, I don't think, having the deck unless you have the book. It's not one of those, I really don't think, I mean, maybe Josephine McCarthy would say, sure, just read with it how you want, but I don't see it like that. This deck kind of demands a lot of reverence and respect, I think, just because of the ways in which it's been channeled and the wisdom and the magic within it. You know, it's just a highly magical and precious deck. I very much get Lilith vibes from this. I get Babylon vibes from this. Very dark, platonic, primordial mother, you know, dark goddess vibes, the real thing. So this is definitely a lifelong teacher for me, and I have been absolutely loving this deck since I got it. I've only read with it a handful of times, and it's always been for very important, very serious things that, you know, I've gone to the deck with that reverence and respect, and that's how I see this deck. So it's a real powerful one, this one. So, and absolutely, like I said, you need to get the book if you're getting the deck. It's a powerful tool, this one. As we're talking about powerful tools, I want to talk to you about this deck. This is the Serpent Icons by Helena Vanel and Shandy Azbuskatia. I've listened to some interviews on some podcasts and such with the creators of this deck. Fantastic. Again, so much wisdom. This is Anathema Publishing, by the way. I was just in awe of this deck, in all honesty, and the book as well is so incredibly beautiful, as you can see. So you buy them separately. It's one of those beautiful decks because it's an independent publisher. It's the Serpent Icons, a sorcerer's distortion of Tarot de Marseille Major Arcana. So it's a Majors deck, and as it says, Tarot de Marseille. So this is the basis for this deck. I have been using it to commune with Lilith, and the rituals in this book as well were designed for you to go deep with. And before you get to those rituals as well, it's really nice to start with the first ritual within the first portion of the grimoire at the back. So this is grimoire at the back. So it's the evocation of the daemon. Obviously, that's sort of the wise one, the higher self. Awakening and opening the ritual to the Serpent Icons. So for this, I was actually planning to do this, and then I wasn't able to do it on the date I had planned. I did gather all the ritual materials, however, because it says 13 black candles, and I didn't have 13 candle holders that were the same, so I actually created 13 of my own candle holders from clay. So that was quite a big project, and I wanted to do that first and do it justice. So, oh, I'm using this here. This is like the card that goes in it as bookmark, and this was, I think, a card that I drew when I was working with Lilith, and so this is actually on Lilith's altar right now, and this is what I consider to be the work that is sort of happening at the moment for me. So this has been for the last few months I've been working on this. So this is kind of, again, similar to the Magician's Warrior deck by Josephine McCarthy. This is, again, kind of a long game kind of deck for me, in my mind. This, I'm also using this as a beautiful bookmark. I think I actually might put that in my Lilith grimoire because it's so apt and beautiful. I've been trying carefully, very carefully, to read this without making pencil marks, because I literally scrawl in all of my books, and I don't tend to buy too many of these hard copies. I have a few from Troy Books and such, but I like to get the paperbacks because I scroll in them, and this is how I work. But yeah, eventually my plan is, like the Troy Books, to get them all on hardback. Candle wax there. This has pride of place on my bookcase in my bedroom, and this is, you know, where I do tend to do quite a few of my rituals with Lilith, so that's why that's there. Let's take a look at the deck. So again, with this deck, I do get very much strong Lilith vibes. But I think you could work with a number of dark deities in engaging this work. You know, it's the long game stuff, it's the shadow work, it's the deep introspective work. It's that work that I'm always talking about in my videos that is just so key. Again, like I said, it is modelled on the Marseille, which is a system that I'm probably least familiar with, because after Rider-Waite-Smith, it's the Soth that I'm then familiar with more. I obviously put some of them back in the wrong way, which is something I do. But you can see just how beautiful and how relevant. I mean, look at this draconic image here. So if you're working on personal power, if you're working on inner strength, inner wisdom, that know thyself axiom that I always bang on about, because it's so key. I think anyone, again, who works with the witch's devil, anyone who works with Lucifer or Satan, the witch's devil, may also resonate with this, traditional witchcraft, etc. This card obviously just very much spoke to me of Kali. Not entirely sure if that was the intention, but so as I said, like, this deck again is like an ongoing work for me, and it's a very special deck in my collection. As you can probably tell, I've been investing in decks that I feel are for that deep introspective work, but not the fluffy kind of decks. Oh, there's a space for the fluffy decks, don't get me wrong, and I'm not poo-pooing them, I love them, but I've been investing in these very, very special decks that do this hard work for me, and that have been written by occultists who know what they're talking about and who really, really have done the work themselves, and so I find that really, really powerful. I would highly recommend this. I've also seen Tarot Shrink talk about this a few months ago. Highly recommended, and I'm using this as a tool to connect with Lilith personally in my practice, although I do believe the authors actually intend for you to connect to your daemon, so your own higher spirit, as it were, higher self, rather than connect with deity. But I am using this to connect with Lilith because I feel like that's where, you know, a lot of the shadow work that I'm doing is sort of centered anyway at the moment, and I feel like there is communication coming through in that way from Lilith. However, there are other decks that I do use to communicate with Lilith, other tarot decks and such, so it's not the only one, but it's a very powerful one for connecting to that chthonic, dark, primordial, divine feminine again. Okay, so I want to talk now about a bit of a mistake I made, and I would also like to make a proposal. So let me just show you first what I've got. This is the Literary Tarot. So I backed this on Kickstarter quite a long time ago, and it arrived a few months ago, and some people have probably talked about this within the community. I knew the moment I got it I'd made a massive mistake, and it's not because there's a problem with the deck or the way it's been created. The images do not speak to me, and also the fact that there isn't really anything written about the literature in the guidebook bothers me, because there's a few books in here that I have not read and that I'm not planning to read anytime soon, and to me, because there's no information in the book, it bothers me just too much. And again, like, I did think that it would speak to me, but unfortunately the art just doesn't. Somehow it falls short. It is beautiful, it's just not for me. I think that's just the truth. So you can see I've not even shuffled it. I'm not planning on it. It's beautiful, I cannot deny. And you've got this gilding, which I do love gilding. I'm not going to give you a full walkthrough, as I said, because this is not the deck for me. This is for someone else. I just know it's not for me. I think it's easier to become a bit more discerning about decks now. I'm a lot more specific about what I want, and I think I wouldn't have backed it now as well. It was a long time ago. So I have a pin, and I have these beautiful postcards as well. But this deck for me was a no-no. It's not the fault of the creators, it is beautifully produced, it's just not right for me. So I'm putting it away. What I would like to propose is, there are a number of decks on my wish list, right? If you have a deck or a few decks that you don't want, that are indie, that have a similar kind of desirability, as it were, in terms of community, but it just didn't work for you, say you backed something on Kickstarter and you've got something, I would be open for a swap. Obviously I'm based in the UK, so that potentially could be a problem if you're like in the States or whatever, so I think maybe this might have to just be someone in the UK. Do reach out, you do have a deck that you don't want, because potentially it's one of the ones that's on my wish list. It's a long shot, I know, because some of you are probably like, well, how do I know you're even going to want the deck I've got, but just try me, whatever. But that's if you want this. So I think I'll probably just have to eventually go on one of the Facebook groups and put out there to swap. But yeah, this was probably a big mistake for me, but it is a beautiful, beautiful deck. It is just not for me. And I really wanted to go to a home that is right for it. But it is stunning, it is stunning. Actually, now I've said that, I'm going to give it away. I'm a bit like, oh, do I really mean this? No, but there are so many decks on my list, and you know, potentially out there you have a deck that is right for me and I have a deck that is right for you. So if you think that's you and maybe I'm speaking to you, then reach out and we'll figure out a way to message directly. Okay, so think out there, put a comment below, tag me, whatever, and we'll talk. Right, another hard hitter. This is mass market, but it is not for the faint of heart, and it is not a frivolous deck, it's not. So this is the Goetic Tarot in Darkness by Fabio Listrani, and this is a stunning deck, and Lilith is actually in this deck. That's not actually why I got it. The reason I got it is because I'm studying the Goetic. I wanted to have the deck to go along with. The guidebook is really good. I mean, obviously it doesn't go into a huge amount of detail, but it's got kind of what you need to know. Obviously dog-eared a few of the pages, and then you've got all of the correspondences there as well. Low Scarabeo again. So let me just show you my study materials. So I have the Joseph Peterson copy of the Lesser Key of Solomon, which I have very much felt useful so far diving into. Again, I've tried to avoid putting pencil, etc. And I've just been going through and just reading about the different spirits so far. And obviously I have not memorized anything, still trying to get used to it. And I'm still in the section about spirits as well. So that's that work. And then I have these two. So these are the same but different, obviously. So this I actually got quite cheaply. So this is like a workbook essentially. The Key of Solomon the King, Clavicula Salomonis. This is the text I'm working with here, but then I wanted to get this one with a foreword by Joseph H. Peterson as well, because I wanted to compare the two. So this is more recent, this has arrived. So I've not started diving into this yet, but as I said, this is kind of an ongoing thing for me. So this is kind of on the side. I am not planning anytime soon to be calling out these spirits or anything, but it's just something I have an interest in. And so far I've been using this deck for study. So when I've been reading about the spirits, I have been looking at the depictions in the deck. So they're still in order, and I want to keep them in order for a while. I really appreciate the art in this as well. So it's very, very beautiful and powerful, very powerful. I've highly enjoyed doing this, and I don't really talk about this. This is not work that I talk about, but it's just something that I've been interested in for years, to be honest, and I've just been learning about on the side. And here at the end you have Lilith and you have Lucifer, and I absolutely love this. At some point I probably will use this on the altar for Lilith. At this point I have not. I mean, how fantastic is that? I mean, it's very sexualized of course, but it's still, I want to say the F word, it's effing amazing. And then Lucifer as well. As I mentioned in previous videos, I think in my book haul I mentioned, I have been working a lot with the Witch's Devil and kind of deepening into understanding the Witch's Devil, reading more, and I'm, you know, on the astral or, you know, in spirit flight met with the Witch's Devil on a few occasions, and deepening into my learning and understanding of this figure. And Lucifer and Samael come through with Lilith, as does Eve, you know, and obviously I also spoke to this thing going on with Dionysus as well, who I do see as like another kind of aspect of the horned god. So there's a lot there. There's many deities, and then obviously there's all these spirits. I am not intending at any time soon to be calling on any of these spirits. This is just work that I enjoy learning about, and for that I wanted this deck. This is not a deck I've been using for divination at the moment. I may do in the future. At the moment, this is a study deck for me, and I've been highly enjoying it. It's just kind of something I'm really interested in. So keep that going on the side. I also want to apologise because I have some like soil underneath my fingernails because I've been sorting out the apothecary today and like putting out dried up leaves and twigs and things in glass bottles, so that's why I'm all grubby. Next up, this is out because I use it all the time. So this is the Modern Tarot Reader, of course, by Claire Goodchild. I absolutely love this, and for years, like, I thought this was lovely, but because I wasn't like so confident with pips a number of years ago, I was like, oh well, I don't really need it, but I just love it. And I always see the Oracle deck so popular, and there are all the add-on packs. It's such a beautiful deck, and I kind of wanted the Oracle, but then I thought, well, let's just give the Tarot a go. And obviously because it's only available independently as the original version, and now it's the Modern Tarot Reader by Claire Goodchild, I decided just to get the mass market, and I've used this quite a lot, and you know, it really speaks to current happenings, and it's creepily accurate actually, especially when it comes to like the feelings that are bubbling up within me. I mean, obviously it's like a mirror, isn't it? It always is. The tarot is always a mirror. But like, it's like it knows what I'm actually thinking. It's like, you're saying you want a reading, but you're kind of denying your feelings right now, and so these are your feelings, and I'm gonna leave you with that, okay? So it's very straight to the point. I'm really enjoying it. I'm also recently purchased the new book by a good child as well. I also wanted to gild it, but I've not really gotten around to it. I just sort of like did that when I was on the go once, just like, oh, I'll just have a, then I thought, oh, I actually have to sit down and do this, but I still haven't got around to it. So I want to put some edging on it, which is something I haven't done in years. So that'll be fun, because I just love this distressed, and I don't love the backs, but I do like the distressed. And what I used to do was like edge with the stamp, and then it would like bleed onto, and I really like that, so I might do that. So that's something I'm going to do with this, but this has been a workhorse for me since I got it like at the start of the year. It's been a workhorse. As you can see, it's all like higgledy-piggledy and reversals and everything. I'm not going to apologise, it is what it is, you know. If you don't like the channel, go somewhere else. So I love this. I love it, love it, love it. And, you know, I think probably it's quite likely in the future I'll pick up some more of Claire Goodchild's decks, and probably the independent ones on her Etsy. Really enjoy this. It's been a workhorse. So I think in my Beata Nomqua about the folk witch practices, I talked about playing cards for divination, and actually again Nomqua did give me that idea to write all my meanings on like a cheap deck of playing cards. And I was doing that work and it kind of paused in the new year because other things took over. But I do know I still want to continue with it, and I wanted a beautiful deck that would resonate for me. And of course, because the Pagan Otherworlds is still my favourite deck, I knew I needed this. So this is the playing cards by Usi, and as you can see, it's the same illustrations, and it's just the most beautiful deck of playing cards I've ever had. Obviously, I will never play cards with these. I'm going to use these primarily for divination when I have fully memorized and fully gotten used to using playing cards for divination, and that is the truth. Like, I'm not there yet. I'm just not. And I know I talked about doing it last year. My work with it died a bit of a death the start of this year because other stuff took over. But again, I'm in this for the long haul. I do feel that pressure, don't get me wrong. I feel that pressure that like I've got to have it all down so I can start practicing this, because oh my god, how much do I want to use this? I can still use it though, and I have used it. You know, I can still use it and get the book out. I'm not planning to offer readings with playing cards anytime soon, if at all. You know, I'll offer tarot readings at some point soon. I'll offer consultations, and at some point in the future I'll probably offer astrology readings as well. But you know, maybe like in 20 years I'll offer playing card readings, but that's not really the point. Really the point is for me. So it's not really the end of the world if I have to pull out a book to support me with playing card reading at this point. In order to read with this, I will do that because it's really powerful, it's really beautiful, and I really like the readings you get as well. I really like the layouts of the divination. I really like that there's so many different ways that you can go with it. There's so many different systems, and I'm still working through, there's a number of books that I still want to buy by certain authors about different systems of playing card divination as well. So there's a number of different ways to go with it, and still lots more work for me to do. Again, I'm in it for the long haul and trying to give myself, you know, that grace and just be like, you know what, this is for you. You don't have to monetize this. You don't have to talk about this. This is not about that. This is about me and my journey, and I love this. It's so beautiful. So I had to have it, and I would highly recommend, if you like the Pagan Otherworlds and you're learning playing card divination as well, that you pick this up. I think many folk practitioners would resonate with that. So it's beautiful. Next up, Candy Soul and Soil shared this like vintage deck maybe a few months ago, and I had it on my wish list on eBay, and one came up, and look how battered and tattered this is, but it was like £5, so why not? I think that Candy got hers from a charity shop, but it's kind of like Happy Family, Flower Family, so it's Happy Families, but it's Piatnik, Vienna, and they do playing cards as well. These are just so pretty, and so you have different families. So Flowers of the Marsh, Buttercup, Sneezewort, and then, yeah, the different names for it. And it's just very pretty, really. And I think that you can use this alongside other decks like the Botanical Inspirations, and you can use this alongside other tarot decks, of course, that, you know, I've shared previously and in this video as well. Again, I think it's kind of a supplementary deck. I think there's a tag going around, isn't there, supplementary decks. So it's one that would be in that, because I'm not even sure, I don't even know how to play Happy Families. This might be something I can play with my kids, but this is such an old deck. I'm not sure I'd want to, but maybe Happy Families. I'm sure some people are watching me like, what, you don't know how to play Happy Families? No, I do not. But I think I've used this a couple of times as a supplementary draw for a card alongside the Botanical Inspirations and whatever tarot deck I was also using with it at the time. I just thought I'd share that as well, and thank you to Candy Soul and Soil, because I wouldn't have seen this if it weren't for Candy sharing it. So it's a nice little piece to have, like a time capsule, let's say. My most recent deck, the Tarot Favol, and this is art by Victoria Francis, and I was a bit disappointed because the pips are very lazy. Fornia deck, this is an example of the pips, you see, really lazy. And also, the most annoying thing, in the guidebook, it's just a generic guidebook, so it doesn't actually tell you what each of the suits correspond to in Rider-Waite-Smith. So you have these crosses. I have used this, and it has worked really, really well. So you have these masks, and you have these roses, and what is the other one? Is it mirrors or birds? So I've used these for a few readings so far since they arrived. What is the other suit? Butterflies, okay, yeah. Okay, so I think butterflies is air, roses are cups, masks, earth, or coins, yeah, and then crosses, wands, that's what I think. But I've seen online like some other forums like with some other ideas, so I think it's kind of up to you, like whatever, but not that it makes much of a difference because it's literally just lazy pips. But having said that, let's look at some of the actual illustrations because they are really pretty. Obviously this is just mass market. Doesn't that look like Kate Beckinsale? It's a little bit like Tarot of the Vampires, of course, which is like one of my favourites, which is actually incidentally out at the moment, and I used it the other day. So there's the Empress, Queen of Butterflies. Court cards do have illustrated cards, which, yeah, it's good. Oops, whoops-a-daisies. Wheel of Fortune. So this is the Knave of Crosses, King of Butterflies. That one's pretty. That's got a nice background, doesn't it? Well, there you go. It looks like the aces are quite nice. You've got a hand there. Knave of Butterflies. So I think the illustrations are stunning. It's that very vampiric kind of vibe. It's just, that reminds me of like the Fallen Angels. All this kind of like circus vibe. Ophelia vibe. Death. The Meurtre. Emperor. So yeah, it's that similar kind of vibe. Got that Anne Rice kind of vibe with it as well. The Hierophant, right, Temperance, Queen of Masks. So it's a really cool spooky deck, and I have used it and almost annoyed because of the pips to say it's actually really good. So I think maybe that was because the reading I did had quite a few major cards in it, so it didn't look too pippy. But this gives me like Royo vibes. The artist, I've got a couple of his decks, Louis Royo. So again, you got this circus vibe. So it's kind of circus, vampires. But yeah, I thought perfect for spooky season. And you know me, like I keep saying, I don't have enough cartoony, fun, cutesy decks. I just have all these spooky decks and then I keep buying bloody spooky decks, don't I? That's just what I do. I just love the wolf. I've got a wolf as a spirit guide that comes to me like such a lot. So wolf energy is so big at the moment for me. More of this circus energy. More of that fallen angel kind of vibes. Oh, look, that is, I love that. That is gorgeous. So you can see it's totally up my street apart from the pips, but god damn it, it was a really good reader. So I would say if you're not a fan of the pips and you don't have Tarot of the Vampires and you like this, get Tarot of the Vampires because that will float your boat very much so. I mean, these pips just really aren't doing it for me at all. You have to really, really like the art in the rest of the deck if you're going to pick it up, but it was £17, and for the way it's reading so far, I'm pretty thrilled with it, to be honest, even though, yeah, it's kind of annoying. Tarot Favol, Victoria Francis. Quite like it for spooky season. I am so enamoured of the Celia Melsville Boo Tarot, and that is a cutesy tarot deck that might just work for me because it is really spooky. It's Spooksville. And cutesy as well, little cute ghosts. So I really need the Boo Tarot. That is probably something I need to get. Next up, I bought this last year, I think. I just don't think I ever shared it. I got it secondhand. The Witch's Tarot, the Ellen Cannon Reed one. And again, it's actually lazy in a similar way because it's got the same princess in each one, just with different outfits. It's the same face. So it's kind of very like 1970s kind of vibe to it. But there's something about it. There's just something kind of like nostalgic about it. Sort of reminds me of like growing up in the 90s, learning about Wicca and such, you know. So all of these kings look the same. And to be honest, it's really not my vibe at all, but there was something about it that I just wanted. This is the Witch's Tarot, but the Tarot of the Witches, the one that's in that Bond movie. I still want that. So yeah, you see, it's another king that's like exactly the same. So there's another princess exactly the same. This was just kind of a piece that was just like a collector's item really for me. It's got something about it. Yeah, there's some nudity as well. It's kind of just more of a collector's piece. I would probably never read for anyone with this, or myself, to be honest. There's just something about it. That is quite a sexy card though. And then it came up on eBay and I was like, you know what, why not? Let's just do this. And there's something about it I like, even though it's nothing like me. It's just nostalgic in some kind of weird way. So I don't know if I ever shared that, but now I have. The Witch's Tarot, Ellen Cannon Reid. This is my Amsterdam deck. I'm thrilled with this deck. You can see, look, I had this in my bag when we were going around Amsterdam, so it got a little bit stained with something, some water or whatever. This is, again, another Fournier deck. This is Tarot de la Color Tides, and I love this deck. I love it so much. I've wanted this for a long time, I guess, since I saw it maybe last year. I just love the illustrations. There's something very, like, let them eat cake about it, you know, very sort of Marseille, and very playful, very youthful. Some of the card illustrations do look a bit pixelated, like this one is one that I think looks a bit pixelated, if you can see. But yeah, they are beautifully illustrated and really clear readers. Very contemporary, very modern at the same time, whilst also having that vibe to it that's quite nostalgic and, you know, traditional, and very modern whilst also honouring the Rider-Waite-Smith and having this sort of vibe to it that's sort of European, French, Marseille, let them eat cake. This is so Klimt. That's so beautiful. So I've really enjoyed this deck. It's spoken so much to specific situations that I've read for as well. Really, really love it. I know other people have talked about not being able to connect to it, but for me, I just absolutely love this. I want to be able to show you as much as I can without this video being like 1,000 years long. But, oh, look at the dragon. If you ever want to see more from a deck, if you want to see a walkthrough, I'm not opposed to doing those. I don't think they do so well on my channel anyway. You know, I could do a walkthrough of a couple, like, just let me know, whatever. But I don't think there's much, you know, need for it on my channel so much because everyone's already walked them through. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's not really something that people need, I don't think, from me. But how glorious are these backs? Oh my god. But this has been such a beautiful deck for me. I love it. It's like by my bedside quite a lot because I'm like, oh, I really want to do a reading right before bed, and I don't know, it just speaks to me. And it's got such good memories because I picked it up in Amsterdam at Fabulosa, which I posted about on Instagram. Beautiful tarot and witchcraft shop in Amsterdam. So, okay, the Arthurian tarot. This has been on my wish list for so many years. And then I wanted an original one. I have not even delved into this at all. So this is for a future date, the Halley Quest. But it's just one I felt I really needed to have in my collection because it aligns so much with my work, and especially working with the Morrigan and that kind of Irish connection there. And of course, going to Glastonbury, etc., it just makes a lot of sense. So you have these beautiful illustrated cards. They all are. There's the washer at the ford, of course, babe. And they are stunning. Stunning, stunning, stunning. I can't tell you that I've spent a lot of time with this deck so far because I haven't. It's just one that I know I will work with deeper. And actually, looking at it, I kind of wish I had during the summer because it just looks like it would work so well. But I think any time of year, really. I think maybe winter and spring would be beautiful for this. And I have so many decks that it will pair well with Celtic decks. What's that Caitlin Matthews one that I absolutely adore that I haven't had out in such a long time? Some real treasured decks that I can pair with this. If you're working with any of the Celtic Irish or Celtic Welsh deities, or the Kylac, for instance, then I think this would speak to you. I just got mine from eBay, and it's been one that's just been on my list for so long. So when one came up, I just said, okay, I'm gonna just do this now. That is the Arthurian Tarot. I have Legend, the Arthurian Tarot as well, so it's not to be confused. I really like Legend, the Arthurian Tarot as well, and I might try and work with them for a project together, see how they do. This is obviously Caitlin and John Matthews as well. So Miranda Gray. I think maybe Miranda Gray did do the illustrations for the Legend, the Arthurian Tarot as well, so I'll have to see. Okay, so the Green Wheel Oracle, I bought this at the museum in Exeter when there was the Witchcraft exhibition on. I had the cards in this little drawstring bag because they had a slight bend to them. I wanted to kind of flatten them out a bit, but I have adored working with these. So I got them like spring, early spring. So I've got the tarot deck as well that is mass market by the illustrator, Daniel Barlow. The backs are stunning. Then you have, these are just beautiful. So you have like seasonal cards, You have animal cards, you have the moons. So again, it's like a beautiful oracle to work with at different Sabbats and different seasonal times of year, as well as alongside that tarot deck. What's it called? The one that's by Phyllis Curott. That is a beautiful, beautiful deck, which at the start I was kind of put off with because it goes backwards in terms of the cards, but you can just work with it and it's beautiful. So you have the Blood Moon there, the Traveller's Moon, and they're just beautiful as well. I've used these cards on my altars before because they are such stunning images, but they also work really beautifully as animal cards as well. If you work with animal spirit in your work, which I know so many people do. Fox actually came to me last night in a dream I had. It was one of those nights where you have those dreams that kind of take you around and round and round, and you're quite sure that you're going in and out of the astral because you wake up like absolutely exhausted and you are actually somewhere else. It's different to a dream because you actually have like visceral memories of it, and it's not just like you're sort of floating and it was kind of, oh, you were here, then you were there, and it was like dreamlike. It was actually more like real life. Those kinds of like phenomena in the nighttime, the dreamtime space. So yeah, slipping into the astral happens quite frequently, like without will to me, and then sometimes I have memories of it and other times not, but the fox was with me last night, so yeah, I might put fox spirit out. But I have loved these, so worth getting on Etsy. As I said, I picked mine up from the museum, but Daniel Barlow is a local artist in Devon, and it's so worth having. If you are, again, like in Devon, or if you're in England and you work with the Sabbats or you celebrate the different seasons, it's just the most beautiful imagery and it's stunning to work with. And I would really highly recommend the tarot deck by Phyllis Curott as well. I will link that below. I've had that for years since it first came out, and now I've got like a proper companion to work with it, and it's just glorious. I'll show you the book. I just love the packaging as well. It's just stunning. It's very succinct, very, very helpful, and you can delve deeper as well. Oh look, my candle's gone out. That's kind of sad. Along a similar vein, I picked up this, the Naomi Cornuck Old Ways Magic Oracle, which again, been on my list for like 1,000 years. So I've worked with it quite closely in tandem with the Green Wheel Oracle. And again, I've used this on my altars. I've used this in spell work because obviously you've got these beautiful depictions of the Morrigan. I believe Naomi is working on a tarot deck as well with the Morrigan, or like different deities. Oh, stunning. So obviously the owl is symbolic for a number of deities, and Lilith is one of them. Yeah, so again, similar to the Danielle Barlow, these depictions are just stunning for me and just speak so viscerally to the land in which I live on, you know. And so when I'm cultivating a deeper connection to the land in which I live, this helps me to get closer, you know. And again, like, you've got all of these cards that sort of speak to the Morrigan. I've drawn this card so much since I got this deck as well. So again, this one is for the Morrigan. I've had that out. So that has been absolutely stunning to work with. I think I got this at the beginning of the year, unless of course I got it at the end of last year and then I was talking about it at the start of the year. I think I might have already mentioned this at the start of the year because I think I might have got it last year actually, not the beginning of this year. It all blurs. There is a little booklet as well here, and there is colour. So it's again just a really, really beautiful deck to use as a supplementary deck to go along with reading, or as a daily draw as well. And then there's this. So Tangled Muses. So this is the Ritual Oracle deck, and there's a little bit about the deck there. These tiny little cards. They're really nice for like travel and like when you're going to do a ritual where you're just looking for that wisdom in the moment. But again, the illustrations are beautiful. I would actually love a bigger version of this, a larger version, like a guidebook and large images and all of that. But I still think this is stunning. Really good for like a nice quick draw, again, as a supplemental kind of reading. So I had to have this, I thought it just so pretty. It just aligns, again, really works with those other decks I've shared as well. So that is the Tangled Muses, a little deck from Etsy. So because I shared the Vampires and the Lonely Woods Tarot in the Inner Child video, I'm not showing them again here. But if you want to see them, do go over and check those out. There are quite a lot of decks here, of course, but again, as I said, I've acquired these over a number of months because I've not shared new decks to me for a really long time. Decks like this, I didn't even bring the box in because this is out like all the time. And then you've got the supplementary books as well, which I shared, and the literary tarot, of course, which if you're interested, let me know. Let me know what you've got to swap. My Amsterdam deck from the summer, and then the Goetia. That looks like a complete mess. I'm supposed to try and do a thumbnail Let's make this look better. Okay, so it's messy, but I think you get the idea. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I know it's been a little bit all over the place, but yeah, it's the real stuff, I guess. And these are the decks, very eclectic. There's quite a lot of different stuff here, but also it's quite me, if you know what my vibe is. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, let me know in the comments which one is your favorite deck. Give the video a like, share it with anyone else you'd like to see. Let me know if you've got any of these decks, how you're working with them. I'd love to hear your experiences. Also, tell me what the newest deck to you is. I'd love to hear what you're working with and how you're getting on with it, and yeah, just let me know. I'd love to start a conversation in the comments box. So I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, like, comment, subscribe, share with anyone who you think will enjoy. Hit the little bell notification if you haven't already when you subscribe, and let me know if you've got any ideas for videos that you'd like to see me create, because I'm all ears, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video really soon. Take care. Bye.